call, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. PSR is excited to present to you Last Call, featuring your boy, the Pimp Slap POD, Mike M.
We are live and you are here. Let's go, Billy Briggs. How you doing, Dutch? What up, brother? Bouncer, what's up, brother? LJ from the HLJ.
Mike, man, happy to be here, man.
T on the ones and twos, -7.5, the official number we'll use, and the lines move 2 points. And this is not a show to be late for.
And now, let's get to the picks.
We be pumping! Let's go, let's go. It's last call, baby. We're going to have a great Monday. I'm fired up. I see you boys in the chat. I might have had a little too much fun early today. Maybe I had a few too many shots to get things going because the voice is a little scratchy. I see our guy, Jay Smooth, says, let's get it, money, mouthwash, Mike. Let's go. Stat of the day. Fireball totes out a 44-proof product. Listerine touts out a 57-proof product. There we go. There's a little did you know. Maybe that'll be a trivia question while you guys are sitting around with the in-laws and the family over the holidays. But you're here. It's last call. We're ready to rock and roll. It's Monday. It's December the 11th. And we got a great card lined up tonight here. Lots of plays, lots of trap spots. We're going to try to navigate this thing. I think it's a minefield here. And, the trickery's in here. We got 2 NFL games Monday night. It's going to be a great live stream with Jimmy the Bag and company. They're going to kick it off at 7. So we got to get moving. We got to get serious about this thing. If you guys aren't ready yet, get in here. Let's get this thing going. First and foremost, need you to hit the thumbs up button. 3 things we ask you to do. Grab a pen and paper. You're going to write down lots of looks, not just from myself, but the chat. 2, make sure you hit that thumbs up button for us in the chat. It helps us an absolute ton. I've said this before. We got a big ship to turn around. That is this 6 o'clock content window, and Pub Sports Radio is here to do it. It's a tiny harbor to turn around in, and we need your help to navigate the channels. And then 3, throw your picks in the chat. It's all about you guys here. We do it all together collectively. And this is just another great forum to share our plays together. So shout out to everybody that got in here early. I mentioned earlier there, we've got the NFL games tonight. We got a double header of Monday Night Football. Both of them starting at 8:15. I'm not sure what that was all about, but we'll make sure that we get that stuff grooving. Secondarily, we got NHL. We got a nice little NHL card packed up tonight. We're going to have some decisions to make, and we'll talk about that as well. Man, I'll tell you what, should have been a show this weekend. I came off a fire NHL card this weekend. And I'm excited about it, man. It's like the data's getting mature. The opportunities are getting there at hand. And not every day do we have big spots lined up. But last night we had some monsters and cashed away. Then we've got some NBA. We've got a huge card in the NBA to talk about there. I think it's a 13-game card tonight. And we're going to cap it off with a college basketball play as well. I think we're 5-1 in our last 6 college basketball plays. So the NHL's heating up. We're getting nice progress moving in college basketball. And the NBA, we're now past the in-season tournament. We should have great information at hand to make better decisions. And shout out to our guy, Dave Beckett, with a $10 dono. My God, Dave, appreciate you, man. That means a ton. Shows the support, shows the love, and the confidence and the trust that you have here that I do not take lightly. We grind these cards out Monday to Friday, and then some different live streams over the weekend. But, man, I bust my ass. I don't want to come in here and give you guys losers. I want to come in here and give us some card sweepage. So let's see if we can't find that tonight. And to see guys like Dave Beckett sharing his hard-earned cash makes it all worthwhile, man. I love the thumbs up. Appreciate the opportunities to come in there and cap with you guys. And then when you take the time out and the cash out of your pockets to give those donos, it doesn't mean it means an absolute ton. It's the difference maker in the world. It's shows that maybe we're doing something in the right direction. Now we're seeing a ton of copycatters popping up here. With the same concept here of that last look before we get ready to cook the books. And you guys know where it started first here. It's all about Pub Sports Radio. We're making moves out there. Josh Hillman, a new member with us as well. Don Play, I ain't ish yet, says Yo Jay Smooth. Don Play, Jay Peasy making mass money Mondays with Mike M. That's a tongue twister and a half, Jay Peasy. Put a beat behind that thing for us, and we got ourselves a hit record right there, my guy. Dan Kelly says, what's good? Dan Kelly, my guy, ready to rock the NBA with you, my friend. Let's go. Gagnon says, beef tonight. Downplay, salute to the chat. Of course, salute to the chat. All you guys that are rocking and rolling. T-Pick, what up, boys? What up, T-Pick? Let's go, my guy here. Gagnon, woke up to see my 6-leg same game parlay cash last night, a plus 1,500. Great job, Gagnon. Nice work out of you, my guy. Markel, Dana Delp, Ian Shaber, gang. Markel getting it done there. Everyone, appreciate you guys dropping in here. Joseph Thompson says, what's up, Mike? Get that cash. My top NCAA basketball model play Columbia. Farley Dickinson under 161. So he's got 12.5 points of value. Wow, that's pretty significant, Joseph Thompson. We'll have to keep an eye on that. As a matter of fact, the pen is coming out to write that thing down. I don't want to miss out on cash when you're throwing those winners out there in the chat day in and day out. Let's keep it rolling. Down places college basketball. That's it. Let's keep it rolling here. Let's go. There's our guy. F. Donahue with the $5 dono says, appreciate Mike also. Man, means a ton. I appreciate you guys, man. That's, again, the opportunity to get in here and share with you guys these looks and these opportunities to get cash and help everybody win more tickets to me is something I just don't take lightly. I appreciate every opportunity. It's hard work. It's grinding, but it means it's a lot of fun too, right? I mean, fortunate to be able to come in here and share with you guys these opportunities and then celebrate on these different live streams when we're cashing and kicking the bookies right in the face. And that's what we're trying to do tonight. Keith, every stride. What's up, Mike? Good luck to you and everybody. Let's cash these plays tonight. Leonard, there he is. Jordan Vegas is slapping in the face, Mike. Let's go. We're gonna potter up that backhand. It's time to get to work here. And Dan Kelly says, take Bogdanovich over 21.5 points for Detroit. I like that look. Lexicon, let's go. North Ender, marvelous. Mike, thanks, Lexicon. Let's go. And there's Jeffrey Blue in the chat says, let's go, Mike. You guys know how the show works out here. First and foremost, transparency is most important to what we do here. It's paramount. It's the key to this whole thing and sharing what we did well, maybe where we need to get better. And it starts with making sure that we keep it 100. So we will do that. Then we're going to jump into this card. Again, we got to keep a brisk pace. We've got a ton going on tonight. 7 o'clock, the boys are going to be popping off. And I want to make sure you guys not just hear what I got to say, but then we get you time to get those bets in and move on over and hear what the live stream guests have in store for everybody tonight. And we've been kicking butt. Last night aside, we will not mention that team that is going to end up winning the Super Bowl and how they let us down last night. But aside from that, we move forward, and these guys got some great plays tonight. So it's going to be a fun opportunity. These live streams have been kicking butt and taking names, and we want to make sure you guys have an opportunity to get over there and hear what they have to say. So let's keep it rolling. Let's get it moving, and let's talk about last week. I wrote it down. I want to say it was a 30-20 week was the overall number. So, certainly in the right direction out there. We finished Friday with a 6-3 day. And we broke the momentum. We got a live last-minute spot there. We added a last-minute spot that came through and cashed for us. So I was super happy to I was losing some confidence when we get out there and start talking about these plays. And, then they're last-minute ads, and then they go to crap. Nobody wants to hear that. It's like, stop doing anything last minute. Let's just get with what you got earlier today. But that's not what the show's all about. It's about capitalizing on that information, trying to connect the dots, dot the I's, cross the T's, and give everybody those last-minute looks that we maybe that didn't look at earlier on in the day. So let's go through it here, though. We ended up with Ryder minus 9.5. Got that cash for us. I want to say they won that game by like 15. I didn't get a chance to look at I remember Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday was a big card. So I know they won. I know they covered. I think it was 15, but let's keep it rolling. The St. Louis Blues did not get the job done. That was one of my favorite plays on the card, too. Minus 145. Bunch of scrubs. They're just a suspect team at best. I think they just went down early. They could never come back over. They couldn't climb the mountain. But the Edmonton Oilers in regulation did get it done for us. That was a nice little casher. They went up. They came back and tied it up. Then they pulled up again, and then they never looked back. And I think they went up 3-1 going into the third period to get us that cash. And then our ad was that Pittsburgh under 6.5. Easy casher for us there. We lost on the Orlando Magic over 228.5. Friday card in between that in-season tournament type of stuff that was going on out there in Vegas. So that was a tricky spot, but we did win that Charlotte Hornets plus 5.5. In fact, we talked about it on the show. We said, hey, 5.5, Toronto, you want to lay that kind of points with Toronto? In fact, what happens here is Charlotte probably ends up winning the game outright. And sure enough, Charlotte did win the game outright. Wizards, on the other hand, at plus 9.5. They could have had 20. I don't think it would have made a difference. So The Bulls -2 got there for us. We got that bull spot, and we added the official play was the white 20+ points at a nice little even money spot. So all in all, those came through for us, and it was some good earnings right there. On the lean category, not the best. I don't think it was a really productive day whatsoever, but you know what? That's what happens. We're not going to win them all. We're still healthy. We're still in the black over there. Interesting that we're at 132 and 127 on the leans, but we're up 26 units over there. So if you've been tailing along on some of those have been some of our longer shots. Those have been some of the ladder type of plays where we talked about the Kobe White 25+ points for a half a unit, Kobe White 30+ points for a quarter unit. And then we had that Tyus Jones over 1.5 threes. They just didn't get the job done for us. And the Suns at +2.5. That was one of those last minute pull offs the calendar there that I said, I didn't think I liked what I saw with some of that movement. And sure enough, we took it off the table and it was a loser. So we're going to move forward. We start a new week. I always hate to kind of go through some of that previous stuff. I know it's important. I want to move forward. Every day is a new day, and we all know what happened, but it's very important to make sure that we recap appropriately. Subhuman Gaucho says, evening, Mike M. What up, Subhuman Gaucho, my guy? Jeffrey Blue says, practically all quarterbacks threw an interception yesterday. I had a lot of them. Good for you, man. And there's Justin McElvey. Stacks, PO the D. Play of the day. Jordan Love to get an interception at -103, and he's sailing now 113 and 109. Our guy Stats giving us those looks and opportunities to cash them tickets. Jeffrey Blue says Hodgins anytime touchdown at +900. Interesting spot there in the NFL games. And I got a couple spots in this NFL here. We'll get this thing popped off. Let's get right to the work here. We got to roll these sleeves up and get the business. And get the business we shall. We'll talk about this NFL. So my NFL card's a little different today. With the number of games that are out there, you'll see right off the hop here, I'm going to go with a teaser in these games tonight. I like this Green Bay money line. It's 6. I know it's down to 5.5 now, so Green Bay is starting to move. The fact that it's down to 5.5 means you get Green Bay at a +0.5 spot. Look, the money line 0.5 spot, that's only going to come into play if this game's a tie. I don't think that's going to be the case. And then, of course, on the other side of things is the Tennessee Titans. 14 points. Are you kidding me? Give me that to 20. You give me 3 touchdowns. Now, I know Miami Dolphins can score at will. There's no question about that. And I think just by the nature of them running their offense, they could easily put boots to ass. But did you know last week, guess who was on the Manning cast? You guys have heard me talk about this before. That Manning cast is just bad juju when it comes to the NFL. Those players, they find a way to lose that next week. And I don't know that Miami Dolphins come out here and win this game outright, but I know I got 20 on my side. I'm going to take that and run with it. This money line here, we open this thing up. We got the Dolphins -7, moved to -14, 77% of the bet, 69% of the cash on the Miami Dolphins. And did you know dogs this weekend in the NFL went 8-4-1. Now we got a doubleheader tonight. I think a dog's going to get the job done, and I think a favorite's going to get the job done. So surprise, surprise. My early look on this spot here, the dog that I like to get this job done tonight is these Tennessee Titans. I know Miami beats up on bad teams. There's no question about it. But there's a big wild card factor here. The Tennessee Titans aren't that same kind of scrub squad that they were with Tannehill and company. Now they've got this Levis out there getting the job done, and he doesn't know that he's supposed to be a total pile of shit. So why not see him go out there and find a way to keep some points on the board, at least to keep it close? A 4-8 Titans team, not the most favorable spot, I think, on the card. But, again, giving me those points, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I did do a little Levi Levis combo out there. It's a little Levi Levis parlay combo that was over $1,200 in pay. Just a sprinkle, so nothing extravagant, but I wanted to have some fun with it. I like that combination. Look, they were getting 1.5 points as a dog against the Indianapolis Colts. They blew that game. They lost by 3. But those are the growing pains that you have to go through as a rookie quarterback. They beat Carolina 17-10. Carolina stinks. They lost pretty badly to Jacksonville. But, I'm not asking them to come out here and win this game. I guess I am in a parlay. But, when you look at the Miami Dolphins on the other side, this is a road game opportunity where they had to play Washington. They won 45-15. They scored a ton of points. They scored a ton of points the game before that, 34-13 on that strong Jets defense. But that Vegas game kind of jumped out at me. They were laying 14, so it's a very similar spot with this 14. They only won by 7, and I was thinking at one point that there was even an opportunity for Vegas to come in there and get the job done. So, I talked to you guys. I shared this on Twitter earlier today. I know a lot of you guys like to see some of these trends and and I enjoy going through them as well. We found 9 spots today that have undefeated trends staring us in the face. So, at the end of the day, certainly want to talk about them. In this case here, non-divisional prime time favorites. In this case, the Miami Dolphins have covered the 2+ games in a row, which is the Dolphins, 2 or more games in a row, are 0-13 when they're playing against the team they lost to the last time out. So here's a spot where, again, we've got this Levis factor out there where Miami lost, Miami, in the spot here coming up against a guy that they haven't seen before. And I think he could maybe shock the world a little bit here. Again, I don't expect him to win the game outright. It'd be nice to have that little sprinkle. But as far as teasing this thing up in a parlay to get me to 20 points, I'm going to run with that all day. The second leg of the parlay that I jumped into is the Green Bay Packers. And spoiler alert, I am adding the Green Bay Packers as an official side play. Shout out to our guy, Razor Sharp Picks. Maybe he'll like to hear that. Maybe he won't. I don't know. But I'm going to rock and roll with these Green Bay Packers. We have another O staring us in the face here. And this is a mutual O. So we'll talk about this one here. First and foremost, the line opened at 2.5 and has shot to -5.5. Jordan Love out there being mentioned in the same ranks as Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. A little crazy, maybe a little early, but we got 55% of the bets and 48% of the cash on the Green Bay Packers. As far as the total's concerned, though, we know these primetime unders, we know that they're firing off like crazy. 57% of the bets and 83% of the cash on the under, and it's dropped a 0.5 point. So, from a total perspective, it does look like the numbers are kind of ticking downward. I will say this, the New York Giants, when they're a home dog, this goes over their last 20 games, they're 17-1-2 to the under, and they're going under by over a touchdown. They're going under by 8.03 points. Green Bay, on the other side of things, 9-0 going back to 2019 on the road in the regular season when facing a team on a 2-game or longer win streak. Here we go. Here's a spot for me in this spot where I see Green Bay, at the end of the day, this DeVito kid, he likes to throw turnovers and interceptions, not spots I want to get involved with. Now, I do like this under. I know some guys have given out the over today. When you've got an opponent off a win that's now a home dog on Monday Night Football, if they're coming off of that rest spot, we heard our guy Ramon Scott talk about that yesterday. These teams that come off of the bye are significant under opportunities. If you're an opponent off a win, now you're if your opponent's off a win, now you're a home dog on Monday Night Football with the added rest as a dog. You're 9-34 to the under. 37 is a super low number, but over the course of the last 10 years in the NFL, when we got totals under 37.5 points, they have hit the under 80% of the time. So very much a live factor out there. And then the last thing here is just kind of makes sense. When you're a better team defined as you've got over 1.5 more wins on the season than your opponent, and you're getting over, or you're laying over 2.5 points, you're 31-12. You're covering those games by 5 points against the spread. Just kind of basic stuff there. If you're a better team and they're telling you that you're a favorite by way of laying points against your opponent, you've come out victorious 31 times out of 43. So some great spots there. I added Green Bay again, -5.5 now. I was okay with the 6. I was thinking about adding it anyways, but now it's at 5.5. Give me that 5.5. I don't know what people are thinking here with the New York Giants. Now, could I come back in this thing and be like, wow, I can't believe that happened? Yeah, maybe. Probably not, though, because we've got cold conditions. We got a young quarterback coming out there in DeVito. I saw pregame, they're making hell of sandwiches out there. It looks like his family's doing some great Capital One, grade A, top choice tailgating, but I don't think that's going to translate to this guy here. I don't like that Aaron Jones isn't playing in this game. I'm not a big fan of that. And then, of course, Watson, took a big hit last week and got knocked out of that game, not coming back this week. Does change the dynamic a little bit. The deep threat and the ability for Watson to go down the field certainly going to be compromised. But they've got Reed still as an option out there. We know that they have no problem going to Dobbs and Wicks. It's a young core with a young quarterback who's finding success. We talked a couple weeks ago about the Green Bay Packers flipping the switch and moving in the right direction. Wish they had more than A.J. Dillon. A.J. Dillon's not really a run, a blocking back in the backfield, but he's serviceable. He's more than serviceable to get the job done. And we've seen that Green Bay's been able to get the job done. 10-7 win. A 27-19 win against Kansas City. Huge opportunity right there. Big spot as a 5.5-point dog. I did have the Packers in that one. I expected it. But we saw what's been going on with Jordan Love. He's been out there getting right, getting strong. And coaching staff for the Green Bay Packers, I want to say they haven't lost this current coaching staff regime in the month of December. So when push comes to shove, when things start getting serious and they're starting to close in the gaps to make the playoffs, albeit I did hear the Giants are one win away from being a potential wild card play, I don't think they're going to have an ability to match up against Green Bay Packers here. Saquon Barkley, probably going to have a good game. You should keep it on the ground. It's going to be cold. It's going to be windy. It's going to be blustery. But I just don't think the New York Giants are going to be able to match what Green Bay is doing right now. I think they're locked in gear. They have a 29-22 win against a divisional opponent at Detroit. They went into their barn, getting 8.5 points. They slapped them in the face. They played the Chargers. They were getting 3 points. Everybody just keeps making him a dog. And here's the big factor about that, making him a dog. You flip gears. Now you're a favorite. Vegas has seen enough of putting money down and saying, here you go, take points with Green Bay. They expect Green Bay to come out here and literally put boots to ass on the Giants. Giants beat up New England 10-7. Okay. It's New England, right? We saw what New England's doing. They're not doing shit. The fact that they let up a touchdown should be suspect out there because New England's struggling to score. Washington Commanders, they beat a divisional opponent. Okay. And they got their barn doors blown off by Dallas 49-17. So they lost to Vegas 30-6, a suspect Vegas team. When it comes down and the chips are on the table, I want my money on the Packers. I'm going to add the -5.5 in addition to the teaser, the Green Bay. It's now +0.5 and the Tennessee +20 spot. Those would be my two official NFL looks to start this thing off with what I think are a couple of solid trends to kind of, warrant those considerations. So let's keep it rolling. Let's keep it moving. Love to see what you guys think about the NFL. Paul Glock says, is Tyrod Taylor active or inactive? That's a good question. I didn't frankly, I didn't look, so I probably should have looked. That's on me. But, Michael Buena, we know he's been firing out there. This guy was cooking up winners on the UFC stream on Saturday. Shout out to him. Says he likes high at over 25.5 rushing and receiving yards and an anytime touchdown at +400. Giants rookie wide receiver. He's in their deep threat. Absolutely. He can hit that yardage total in one play, and 5-1 is a good price on a touchdown. Totally agree with that breakdown, Michael Bueno. And we know what you did on Saturday. We know you got that sharp eye when it comes to finding these prop spots that are going to get you paid with a glorious return. So good luck to you tonight. Mark Schillenberg says, what's good, Mike, in chat? What's up, Mark Schillenberg? Appreciate you dropping in there. I know we had a little fun today on the session. Our guy Mark Schillenberg was putting together some parlay pieces out there too. So, we're having fun. We took these parlays out of the dark. We put them into the light, and we've been cashing, handsomely with them. We're taking some risk, but we're catching the reward at the same time. I know the boys have some same game parlays lined up. Jimmy was talking about them last night for the show at 7:00. So you're not going to want to miss those. Let's keep it rolling. We got a big card to get into. We just knocked down these two NFL games. Again, Green Bay -5.5 and the Green Bay teaser with Tennessee +20. Mark, I don't know if you missed it, but the official stat, the alcohol proof of, Fireball is 44 proof. The proof of Listerine is 57 proof. So there you go. That's the little holiday nugget that I shared for everybody. You guys know I'm big on the stats. Stats don't lie. There we go. Let's keep it rolling. Let's talk about this hockey slate. I think we're on the hockey slate, if I'm not mistaken. We sure are. And this is that game that we had to make some decisions on. Not this game here to start this thing off here. I did start with Toronto. You guys know what we've been doing on the NHL. It's been really magical. I'm excited to have the run that we're having. And it's been hard work. We've been grinding. We've been doing the research, coming up with the angles and the trends. And it's been very, very fortunate to be in the position we are here. Now we're looking at this game with the Toronto Maple Leafs traveling out to the New York Islanders. And I think this is a real buy low spot for the Toronto Maple Leafs. The thing about Maple Leafs now is, Wall's been their guy, but he ended up with a lower body injury. I think it was a lower body injury. And so what they're doing is they're bringing back Samsonov, who, word of the day, more than serviceable here. 5-1-3 in his last 9 starts. On the other side of things, the Islanders are starting Sorokin, and he is their guy. He's been stepping up. He's been playing better. But I just don't know if I want to get behind an Islanders team that blew their gas out there against the LA Kings. They were dogs. They were down. It took them to overtime. Now, Sorokin had a pretty significant opportunity. He made 34 saves on 36 shots to bring those boys into overtime. LA came out, fired off 2 goals right off the hop, and they were pretty much shut down since then. But the thing about Sorokin is his quality start numbers. He's a 58% quality start. So, when we look at that thing, that comes down to getting, over a 92% save percentage out there. To be 58% means you're just over a coin flip. You're over a 50-50 shot. He just had the great game. This is a spot where it should show that this is the regression point for him, and he's going to play back to the means. Now, I don't like that the Islanders have points in their last 5 games. I mean, as an opportunity, that means that they're grinding. They're either winning outright or they're doing what they did against the Kings, and they're coming back in overtime to get the job done. But away teams, after a win that went under in the Eastern Conference, for whatever reason, this is an Eastern Conference thing, are 35-9. That's very much the Maple Leafs number, and it's cruising under by 1.16 goals on average. So certainly a spot that I thought spoke to the strength of Toronto Maple Leafs position. Also, when you've got the first game of a back-to-back with no rest on the road after a win, you're 75-30. Again, another spot that supports Toronto in this thing. And I think the big deal here is that Wall got hurt. He started 5 straight games with them. They brought Samsonov back, who was really supposed to be a guy to, be in the rotation in the mix. Well, he kind of got put on the back burner because he played like shit, an 88.6% save percentage. But he comes in there against Nashville. He makes 18 saves against Nashville for a 4-0 shutout. And I think that's the little spark this guy needs to get things rolling in the right direction here. So he had a couple days off. And the nice thing about this in this position here with Samsonov, in my opinion, is you don't have that, as the backup guy, knowing that you got to perform well or they're going to go to like the third string guy and you're going to lose that every 3-game type of rotation. He doesn't have that guy breathing down his neck right now. Wall's hurt. He's out. It's a Samsonov spot. He's got that shutout coming off that last game. And I think it's the spark to get him rolling. I don't like that the Islanders have 3+ goals in their last 6 games. That suggests they can score. But I think Toronto's offense is more than capable. They're a top 10 offense in the NHL, and we're going to keep it rolling. So give us the Toronto Maple Leafs first play on the hockey card here. And you haven't missed much. You haven't missed much, Kelly. We talked about a couple things there. We talked about the alcohol-proof and Listerine versus Fireball. We talked about taking the Green Bay Packers -5.5, and we teased the Packers and the Tennessee Titans. Now our first official hockey play that we're going to rock with here is the Toronto Maple Leafs. Next game we're going to talk about on the agenda here, we're going to go to this Arizona and Buffalo game. And this was an interesting one as I started looking at it. So kind of a similar spot when it comes to the goaltender opportunity to get things done. We've got Vejmelka in goal for the Arizona Coyotes. Well, what happened here? He was an every other guy. The Arizona Coyotes were supposed to be starting him in rotation with Connor Ingram. What they did is they broke Connor Ingram. They just went to the hot hand. They ran the guy for 2 straight weeks, Connor Ingram, and he's finally started to regress and play towards the kind of the back of his hockey card, if you will, right? You are kind of who your stats say you are. And he had a couple of tough games. And they ended up going back to Vejmelka now at 2-6-2. Is that a spot for him? I don't know. This is his first start since November 22nd. So he's been on ice indefinitely, and it's almost a 3-week period that he's on ice, even though it's been about 2 weeks at game time. On the other side with Buffalo, they've got Levi in goal here. Levi at 4-4-2. What do we know about Levi? As he came in, he was supposed to be that designated starter coming out of college hockey. They kind of threw him right into the Wolves, and he played poorly off the hop. But he went down to Rochester. He kind of got a little bit of confidence back. Eric Comrie's been hurt, which means that they had to bring him back up. And since he's come back up, he's only allowed 3 goals in his last 2 games, and he's at a 95.2% save percentage. Furthermore, Arizona was on that streak. We know Arizona was hot. They won 5 games in a row, but since then they've dropped 2 games in a row. They've been outscored 9-4. And here's the thing about Buffalo. If you know Buffalo, their offense is not dynamic by any stretch. No disrespect to the organization. They're just not scoring. That Tuke on their team, one of their playmakers, one of their top 10 guys, just had a baby. He's a healthy scratch tonight as well. He might be back in the next game, but him and his wife just had a baby, and he is not going to be in that lineup, which is going to deplete that talent level even more. The Buffalo Sabres in this spot here. Arizona Coyotes, when they're on the road and you're on the road against an opponent, their last game that had 20 or more hits are 4-30 in those spots, right? So when you play a physical game, that last game where you got hit around 20 or more times, you're not winning games. You're 4-30. But ultimately, I just had to go back to what do I know here about Buffalo? They're not scoring goals. They're offensively stricken or smitten right now. They're 3-10 to the under when they're on their home ice. The average score, 2.3 goals for Buffalo, 3 goals for the Arizona Coyotes, in this case, the opponent. 3-10 to the under. I think we've kind of got that perfect soup here, that perfect storm for goaltenders to have a big explosion, make a lot of saves. We got Arizona's getting outscored. They've dropped 2 games in a row. Buffalo's not scoring a lot of goals. When I say not scoring a lot of goals, you go back and you look, they lost 3-2 to Montreal. They did win 3-1 against Boston. They scored 3 goals against Detroit on December 5th. They had 1 goal against Nashville and 2 goals against Carolina, way under the 2.5 goal mark average. And we're getting this number at 6.5. The last number I'll share with you is when these two teams play together head-to-head at the KeyBank Center in Buffalo. 5 games in a row have all gone under the total goal line. Again, the average being about 5.2 goals being scored in those games. So I'm going to take that shot here. I know the goaltending says these are not under matchups, but I think given the circumstances, the unique opportunities with these goalies coming in to fill the void and try to regain some confidence and position, that it's a good spot to see a low-scoring game tonight. I'm going to take that under 6.5. And then I've got a third spot. We'll talk about this ad. Had a decision to make. Had to really think long and hard about it. And I'm still thinking long and hard about it, but I'm going to pull the trigger on it. It's going to be an ad for us here. I'm going to look at this Detroit and Dallas game. Okay. We're going to talk Detroit, Dallas. We got Reimer in goal for Detroit. He's at 2-2-2, but a 92.2% save percentage on the career, or on the season. Ottinger on the other side, 10-7-2, and he's at a 90.4% save percentage. We've been talking about how Ottinger's been kind of falling off. He's let up 6 goals on 27 shots against the Las Vegas Golden Knights in his last game out. Not a good spot for a Vegas team that was struggling to find the back of the net. Furthermore, Reimer, although he hasn't started since November 16th, that was a 5-1 loss. Not a great spot for him. But, he did come out there when he got put in the net as the backup. He made 11 saves. The thing about Reimer is he was supposed to be the guy, but Lyon's been playing so phenomenally in Detroit that they went away from Reimer. They put Lyon in there, getting the experience, although he does have 7 starts this season, and I think the experience is the key here. Plus, I talked to you guys about the 10 factor, right? When we get to 10s, we start trying to maybe look the other way. It's hard to do something 10 times in a row. The Red Wings have lost each of their last 10 games in Dallas right now. So the reason that I initially struggled and didn't pull the trigger on this thing off the hop, there was a big injury to Dylan Larkin last game for the Detroit Red Wings. And they did not rally behind that there. They lost 5-1 to Ottawa. Bad injury for this guy. Upper body injury. They had to, he ended up getting up and getting off the ice, but he is their number 1 goal scoring threat out there. They also have an issue with JT Compere. He's not going to play as well. But Dallas is kind of reeling right now. Dallas has lost 3 of their last 4 games. I mentioned Ottinger just got shelled for 6 goals. And in their 3 straight losses, they've let up 4 goals or more in each of those games. Dallas is being outscored 19-10 in their last 4. Away dogs, after a home under loss as a favorite with a total greater than 6, are 30-24. It's not a tremendous edge for Detroit, but I think the value is in the number with this thing. Detroit's plus 180 right now. And this is the first game after the star player kind of gets knocked out of this thing. We know that they like to step up and fill that gap. Do I think long-term Detroit can get it done? I'm not sure about that, but we also have Patrick Kane in the lineup now. Patrick Kane was productive. He did find the score sheet in that Detroit game that they just played as well. So when he kind of put it all together, I thought this is a spot where I want to take a shot with this plus 180. It's a unit play. Everything's a unit. You guys know the deal here, with the exception of some of those ladder spots that we talked about. But at plus 180, given the circumstances with the Stars coming out, Reimer getting a second chance to come back in here, that's kind of been the theme that I laced together for tonight's hockey card. Is we've got goaltenders and bounce back spots that should be motivated with teams to get the job done. And at plus 180, against a struggling Dallas Stars team, lost 6-1. They did beat Washington 5-4, okay, but they had that double road trip down in Florida. They lost 5-4 to the Panthers. They lost 4-0 to Tampa Bay as well. They're not finding the back of the net very consistently at this point, and I think it's a great spot for the plus 180. So there's another show ad for you guys, a plus 180 spot for us in Detroit. And, maybe it's the luck or the success that we've had in the NHL thus far that's gotten me to there to feel confident about pulling the trigger. But it's almost 2-1 the money. Are you kidding me? Let's go. Let's take advantage. These are the shots that we go for, and we try to score with those things. Last game that I wanted to, there's one last game in the NHL. I'm not going to pull the trigger on it. It's this Colorado game. I looked at the under, Colorado and Calgary. The only thing I'll say to you guys is look for the second period. Colorado at home is the number one over team in the second period. The books have caught on. They're at twos now. The two's like minus 115. So look for a live spot. The last game I played that last week there, they ended up scoring, I think it was 3 goals in the second period. But I got it live at over 1.5. So if this scores down in this first period, just kind of play around with that. Maybe take a look at that and something to consider if you do want to get action on that Colorado game. I know it's a later spot. I would give some consideration to that second period over. I did kind of like that under 6, but I don't know. I know they've got McCarr back. I don't want to take an under in a Colorado. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I get there at the end of the day, but that's the deal. That's all I'm going to go with here. Mel says, here's the cap. Avs are still struggling both on 5-5 and on the power play. I will say, though, Mel, they have become one of the better 5-on-5 teams, but still having lineup issues. I agree. In lines 2 and 4, absolutely. Rantanen's MIA. Yeah, that's where he goes. Kind of they go, right? It's they've got some talent, but they need all their dogs to be barking. And Calgary and Colorado play unders in Denver. Likes that team total under 3.5. I like the breakdown, Mel. I appreciate you sharing the look. Tori Coker says, let's go. Director 97, Pimp Slap. What's your thoughts on the Nuggets game? And the other game is the Heat game. We'll talk about those games here as we transition over to the hardwood and the association. And then Jared TG says, evening, Mike, my guy. Sorry about your Eagles. Even the scared cowards have their days sometime, eh? On Jordan Love, 225 plus passing yards. And Saquon, 50 plus rushing yards tonight. A little 2-leg parlay. Jared TG, thanks for sharing, my guy. Appreciate everyone's insights. Jared TG coming in there. Mel sharing, not just the looks, the breakdown as well. Love it, you guys. Love what we're doing here. Again, as a collective entity, we're trying to move as one to pimp slap them books in the face. And Saturated says POD ? Embiid smash. Well, let's talk about the NBA. That's our next avenue to kind of pull the trigger. Look, first and foremost, I'm a little concerned about tonight's NBA card. First of all, I love a lot of spots in it. Second, they're coming off this in-season tournament. The NBA really kind of starts their season now. So all the players had kind of that equal rest advantage with the exception of the Lakers and the Pacers. The Pacers are the only ones that are in action tonight. So I did stay off of that game. Bad loss spot for them. We know that they're a high-flying over team, but, they got LeBron. They got LeBron by LeBron in LeBron territory in a LeBron spot for a LeBron championship to continue the LeBron legacy that is the NBA. And I'm not sure how they're going to respond to all of that LeBronism out there. To me, it's one too many LeBron factors. If there was 8 LeBron factors and not 9, I may be more inclined to get there. But let's talk about this Orlando Magic Cleveland Cavaliers game. The line opened at 4.5. Minus 4.5. 66% of the bets, 84% of the cash on the Orlando Magic, and it has dropped. We see the total open up at 217. Now we've seen that climb to 225.5. 49% of the bets and 77% of the cash on the under. So a movement upward on the total, despite the cash coming in on the under, and a movement towards the Cavaliers, despite the money coming in on the Magic. Kind of a little bit of a quandary there. Dan Kelly says, if the Pacers are winning by 10 at halftime, you can play Detroit. I like that look, Dan Kelly. Love you guys sharing those live opportunity looks, too. Those are kind of things to plant in the back of your head. We'll talk about one of those with the Denver Nuggets as well. And then True Teller says, parlay the Islanders with 2 NFL favorites. There you go, True Teller. Thanks for sharing, my guy. So as we talk about this game here, let me pull it up and we look at this thing. I told you guys we got a bunch of 10-0 spots, or a bunch of number spots tonight, ATS spots there with the O's. And the Mobley factor for me is the difference for Cleveland here. I know Garland should have a big game, but the Magic are 10-0 against the spread at home versus a team shooting under 36 and 3/4 from 3. When their teams aren't scoring from 3, they're kicking ass, and they kick ass at home. They're just one of those spots. They've won each of their last 8 home games. Not a spot that I would want to fade the Magic. I love the fact that this number's come down, knowing that they're motivated. The money line for this game right now at minus 125. I'm not going to mess with that 1.5. Now that it's come down, I almost feel like it's overreaction here. The Magic, they beat Detroit, sure, 123-91. I mean, they handled Detroit, but they came off of those back-to-back losses on the road. So now they've got a little bit of that rest period. Things kind of moving in their direction as far as being able to kind of get the rest, the recharge, and the recoup to be able to come back out there tonight and defend. And I think defend they do. The Cavaliers, on the other hand, they took down Miami. It was a travel spot to Miami. So that was back on the 8th my gut's going to tell me they didn't stay down in Miami. They probably went back home, albeit South Beach is a nice place to stay. But it's also a little bit of a revenge spot for the Magic. The Magic just lost to the Cavaliers 121-111 in Cleveland. So now this is a chance to defend their home court. I like the Orlando Magic. I'll take him at minus 120. What did I say it was? 125. 125 is the number now. When I put this together, it was 115. So we are seeing a little bit of movement back in the right direction to get that job done for us. Minus 125, JPZ. Caesars minus 125 out there. So yeah, crazy that it started off at fives, and now we're all the way down to 125 spots. So like it enough to jump on it. Let's keep it rolling. Let's keep a brisk pace. Lot to cover. Lot of association plays tonight. Second spot that I like here is going to be this Denver Nuggets play here. And kind of a situation where I like the spot with Denver's motivation. 86% of the bets, but only 45% of the cash on the Nuggets. What's significant about that to me is the sharper money is coming in on the Hawks. The Hawks number is starting to move to 3.5. So the bigger bets are saying, Atlanta Hawks, and the number's moving in that favor or in that direction. They're giving you more points to take the Atlanta Hawks, even though you're a bigger better. The total opened at 238.5, now 242.5, with 83% of the bets and 95% of the cash on the over. I'm not going to mess around with that over. That's just not a spot I want to get involved with tonight when it comes to this game. But what I did write down here, what I did take some notes on for this game is, again, another spot where we have an O trend. Denver, 20-0 against the spread, going all the way back to February of last year when they're not a 9-point or greater favorite after not covering that last game by 13 points. That's a bounce back trend right there, folks. 20-0 against the spread when they're not a huge favorite. So some people will look at the line and say that's suspect, but I look at the line and I want to embrace that trend there. I think, Denver's in this motivation spot coming off of their previous non-cover situation. Wasn't just a non-cover situation, right? But if you look at it, where'd my numbers go? Nothing like losing your rhythm when you're when you're trying to do something here. We got 3 losses in a row for the Denver Nuggets as well. You want to talk about motivation? They lost as 9-point favorites to the Houston Rockets. They lost to the Clippers as a 1-point dog, and they lost at the Kings as a 3.5-point dog. So in a spot where I think they're starting to get back and healthy. We know that Joker's very capable of going out there and carrying the load on his own. I want the motivated Denver Nuggets spot here. They're supposed to be one of the best teams in the NBA. They're coming off of a championship. You're giving me a marginal number at best for a team that, oh, by the way, Atlanta, one of the worst teams in the NBA against the spread. They're 5-16 against the spread. Atlanta doesn't cover spreads. When you got road teams that are shorter than a 7-point favorite off a home loss are 27-2-2 against the spread when they have rest as well. So just a lot of kind of green lights for me to look at this Denver Nuggets spot. 2.5. This is kind of where I was saying, is this some of these trappy spots? Because it is a low number, but sometimes it's a low number and you just kind of look at it and say, it's a low number. I want to take it. And that's the trap. In this case here, I think they've got 2 trends that point to this specific spot where Denver's coming off of that non-cover and a loss. Talk about motivated. Give me this team at a minus 2.5. I think that's a steal for us. I'm not going to mess with the money line. I think they're going to win this thing by, at least 4 or 5 points in this game. So we'll take the Denver Nuggets and we'll rock and roll on to the next game. You guys see on the right-hand side, the games that we're going to cover in the association. Maybe it's Listerine that messes your voice up. I'm not sure, but but I'm struggling with it here. So let's look at this Toronto game. Let's talk about this Raptors and Knicks spot. Next game on the association, we've got the Toronto Raptors currently sitting as a 4.5-point dog. 4.5-point dog, 35% of the bets, 26% of the cash on them. The number, as far as the total, opened at 217.5, now 221.5 out there. 74% of the bets, 91% of the cash on the over. And the play we're looking at here is going to be this under. Pretty short, sweet, and to the point. When I was looking at this Toronto game, this is a double intersection spot here. We got a road conference team, 16-0 to the under after a road loss as a favorite when their opponent shot less than 43 rebounds and a low total. So they're going under those numbers by almost 13 points at 12.79 points. That just tells me that, their opponent, they were just sloppy. The opponent had less than 43 rebounds under the NBA average, and they didn't get the job done. So sloppy team should tighten that up going into the next game. They should be bored, and they should be limiting second chance opportunities out there. when you have a rested team off a road loss as a favorite that shot 50% or better from the floor, a 17-0 under spot, again by 12.74 points to the under. That kind of tells me in that spot there, hey, we shot better. We just didn't rebound. We didn't play very well and covering boards and in the paint. And so what happens now is they clamp it down. Those two kind of correlate to me, both a 16-0 and a 17-0 spot to jump in on this Toronto under 221.5. Everybody pumping on this over, but we've moved it 4 points. We have a 13-point margin in terms of the numbers to our advantage. I'm going to jump in. Toronto, give me the under. Let's keep it moving. Dallas, Memphis, we're going to talk about next. And let's see what you guys said. Isaac Tarek B says, just hopped on. Why is it only 2.5? That's fishy. You know, Tarek, we talked about it being fishy, but in this case here, it is that bounce back spot for Denver. And it's not just saying, hey, they're going to bounce back. We've got some numbers that support it in the right direction. Jared TG, yeah, it feels too easy, but I got to take the Nugs. Agree. That's why I said this NBA card's tricky. These teams are both coming in with comparable. All these teams are coming in with comparable rest, and it's going to be a dangerous position tonight. So got quite a few spots, but I did not want to get too aggressive with the NBA card, albeit though we do have quite a few things lined up here. I gave this one out on the session earlier today. The Memphis Grizzlies open at +3, down to +1.5. 68% of the bets and 57% of the cash on the Mavericks. Crazy. Everyone's jumping on the Mavericks. We know there's no Kyrie. That's a big factor out there. We know what happened that last game for the Mavericks. And the Grizzlies, on the other hand, we know the Ja Morant thing, but I think they've kind of settled down beyond that. So when you look at this, though, so numbers that jumped out to me with this number, Dallas, 0-17 when they follow a win as a favorite, when they did not out-rebound their opponent and made fewer than 22 free throws. They weren't drawing fouls. They weren't boarding, and they still found a way to get a win. Sloppy breeds sloppy. You got a team that played a sloppy game and found a win that last time out, and it does not correlate. If you play like shit the last game, you play like shit the next game. That's what that stat tells me. Also, when you got home dogs that are less than 3 points after a double-digit loss, they're 17-0 straight up and 17-0 against the spread when their opponent had fewer than 47 boards. So there's a great spot, again, where we've kind of got that intersection point where we've got a team that won a game despite not rebounding and not drawing foul. They just kind of went through the motions to win that game. Sloppiness breeds sloppiness. And now we got a team where they're a small favorite off a double-digit loss when that team that their opponents playing to this game out had less than 47 rebounds. Just kind of correlates to me. The rebound factors, the connection. You know what? I know that Dallas, certainly is more than capable of getting the job done. But do they get it done here? I know Luke is the deal, and I'm not a big fan that Desmond Bane's kind of the crown jewel of that offense right now. But you look at the Mavericks. They played Portland at Portland. They phoned it in. They got the win, but certainly not something that they might have been overly excited about. They beat the Utah Jazz. They whooped the Utah Jazz by 50 points. But with the marketing factors out there, that's not necessarily the best Utah Jazz team there could be. And they lost to the OKC Thunder. So that was kind of their big opportunity against OKC. The last time they played Memphis, they lost 108-94. So, this rebound revenge spot could concern me, but I like this over. The mitigating factors to me are how these teams correlate when they had a poor rebounding performance the last time out. So, Kelly, go get those bets placed. Let's go. Hope you cash. Let's keep it rolling. Next game I want to talk to you guys about on the card. We'll keep it tight here. We got about 10 minutes to go before our guy Jimmy the Bag gets rocking. And I know he said we can go as long as we need, but listen, I respect what that man's doing out there. He's put the work in. I want to give you guys the opportunity to hear exactly what he's got rocking out there. So I leaned on this game here. This is originally I was going to go to the Bucks. We talked about this earlier today on the sets, right? Dabby and Dutch. And I know Dutch was talking about that first half spot. Not mad at anybody that wants to get in on it. I started thinking about the points, though. Not a big fan of it's -6 is what I saw for the first half. The Bulls open at +10. They're up to +11s. 56% of the bets and 80% of the cash on the Bulls. So all that money coming in on the Bulls, and they're still moving in the Bulls' direction. As far as the total, it opened at 232.5. Come down a point. I guess it depends on where you go. There's actually some 233.5s out there, so there is a variance. There's 80% of the bets and 69% of the cash on the over. And I just simplified this one here. We know, there's some top 10 matchups out there. Giannis in the rebounding spots, the number one, rebounding team. The Bulls are letting up the number one most rebounds to Giannis' position in this game. We talked about Malik Beasley earlier today, that the Bulls are in that most three-pointer situation as well. So there's some great looks when it comes to player props in this one. When you've got teams that are allowing 115 or more points over their last 4 games, it's gone over 13 out of 20 times. So it's 13-7 to the over. But here's where the margin came in for me. The average score we're seeing is 123 to 121 in those spots. We know the Bucks in the first half before that, NBA tournament were kicking butt on the overs. But the average line in that spot where the team's allowed 115 or more points in their last 4 games, their average first half total is 123. This number is 113.5. So the Bucks are 6-14 against the spread in that spot as well. It doesn't suggest a strong Bucks play. We know that the Bucks kind of go up early. They've won, I think, 6 in a row in the first quarter on the money line against the Bulls specifically, but they don't finish off well against this division. So that's a tough spot where I think they go up early, they get bored, and then they end up not covering. And I'm not laying a 12-point spot or an 11.5 spot in that case there. I draw the attention to that first half over. I haven't officially pulled the trigger on it yet, but that is something that I was looking at. And then saturated says Kobe White over 19.5 points, Bulls cover. Can't be mad at that. We talked about the earlier today. We had the Bucks first half money line. Giannis 10 plus rebounds. Kobe White 19.5 over points, and I think that was it. And then Beasley 4 plus threes, and that was like a plus 550 spot. So that was something that we talked about earlier today. But I just looked at these numbers and kind of the line functionality. What's going on with these two teams here? Should the Bucks come out and whoop up on these boys? Not happy with the way they performed, in that in-season tournament. They should. There's a lot of moving parts in this game for me. So yeah, there's no question about it. Saturated. They're definitely playing better without Levine. It's crazy. You take the superstar out, you would think the team takes a step back, but in this case, maybe he's a piece of shit in the locker room. Maybe that's the case, and nobody wants to be around the guy. Who knows? But let's keep it rolling. Let's talk about this next game. It's another spot that I'm leaning to, and again, I was going to jump on this over, but a lot of points. I don't want to lay 245 in a spot where we're coming off this association tournament here with the rest here. The Wizards opened at plus 12, now 13.5, 52% of the bets and 56% of the cash on the Wizards. And it's still moving to the Wizards. The total, though, with 50% of the bets and 83% of the cash on the under really hasn't moved much at all. So this number's at 244.5. And the stats that jumped out for me that kind of grabbed my attention, specifically when I was looking at this thing, was this is an intersecting over spot. The 76ers are 10-1 to the over when the total is more than 224.5. So it's pretty simple. It doesn't get any more simple than that. When they're expecting a higher scoring game, the Sixers deliver, and they're going over by 12 points. The Wizards, 12-0 to the over if the line's longer than 9 points. So if they're a big dog, we know the Wizards don't play defense. They just go let them run up and down the court. They get blasted. They score a bunch of points. The Sixers are certainly capable of delivering. The Sixers are 8-3 against the spread at home. They're one of the stronger spread teams in the NBA. And then lastly, the Sixers are 20-0 against the spread before the All-Star break if they're home, and they lost against the spread their previous meeting. So a bounce-back revenge spot for a strong home team. It's just a lot of points. I wanted to share the numbers with you guys. I hate to have it just be a lean. It's just a lot of points. The Embiid factor. Should Embiid go off? Yeah, I think he's going to go off there. Is it a triple-double spot for Embiid? I don't know. He seems to fall short on the assist. He's got no problem getting the rebounds. He's got no problem getting the points. And he gets them early. He just doesn't seem to get past 5 assists. So does he want to play dish the ball up in this game? Maybe the pace gets so much so. My concern with Embiid is the Sixers go up so many points on these guys that after 30 points in the third quarter, they start sitting guys in the fourth quarter. That's going to kill any player props you take on the Sixers. It opens the back door for the Wizards, and it crushes that potential for the total. So just a lean for me, something I wanted to share with you guys. I thought the stats were relevant. If you want to get in there and you're looking for action on that game, I wanted to make sure to share those numbers with you guys because they are zeros. There are some big zeros in those favors. So let's talk about this next game, though. We do have this Utah Jazz, OKC Thunder. And the spot that I jumped in on this game is the over. I ended up on this over. Let's talk about the numbers. Let me pull it up here. Let's keep it rolling. Utah Jazz, OKC Thunder opened at 12.5 points, and it's sitting at 12.5 points. 49% of the bets, 71% of the cash on the Utah Jazz with really no movement. So everyone's betting on them, and they don't care. The total opened at 232.5, 57% of the bets and 59% of the cash on the under, but it's moved up 2 points. So now the best number I see out there for the total is 234.5. Damn, Missed that one by a point as well. Doesn't matter, though. The Jazz 16-0-1 to the over versus a non-divisional opponent when they're averaging more than 17 free throws. That didn't cover the previous spread. So that tells me is the team's drawing fouls. They're coming out there pissed off they didn't cover, and they're whacking them. And I think OKC kind of fits that. OKC kind of fits that portfolio, in my opinion. Furthermore, double-digit favorites versus a team they beat the last time are 45-17 to the over after they won their previous game with a margin of 10 or more. So a couple of spots there that suggest this game's going to see a shootout. I wouldn't be surprised to see OKC come out there and cover this thing. What does kind of concern me is how many points are we going to see the Jazz score? 103 against the Clippers, 97 against the Dallas Mavericks, 113 against Portland. I'm sorry, 118 against Portland, but then 90 against Minnesota, 91 against Memphis. They're just not, and again, the marketing factor I think is a bigger deal than I'd like it to be here. But the numbers I think are mitigating. You know, the last time they played the Jazz, they whacked them. The last time they were a double-digit favorite, they whacked the team by like 50 points. I think there's no problem with the OKC Thunder putting the points up in this game. I just need the Jazz to just get to 100. Just get to 100 and lose this game 135-100. And I think we're going to get that job done. So Saturated says OKC, number 1 3-point. The Jazz, the worst 3-point shooting team. That's how we get to overs. That's exactly how we get to overs. Robert Martin, thanks, my guy. Appreciate you. Like number 70. He's on the Jazz team total undersaturated, says 110.5. Yeah, I mean, that's fine. We get to 105. How about I get 105 out of them, and then I get 130 points out of the OKC Thunder. We can meet in the middle on that one. And then Saturated says Embiid will get 30 by half. He only needs 3/4 to get there. Yeah, that could very well be the case. Let's go. Let's keep it rolling, guys. Last game. I do have one more NBA spot that I'm going to jump in here. It's another ad for me. Again, something I kind of thought long and hard about. Some of these numbers moved, and it opened up model plays for me for the end of this game here. We don't have an official slide for it because it came up here after the fact, but I looked at this Nets game, this Nets spot, and I wanted in on these Nets. I love the points they're getting. They're a strong cover team against the spread. The line opened at 5.5, and it's down to 4.5. 62% of the bets and 92% of the cash, like the Brooklyn Nets. And I think there's good reason for it. First and foremost, the Kings haven't covered the spread in any of their last 7 games. So 0-7 as a favorite after a win, right? So 0-7 against the spread. I use the worst color ever to highlight these things here to kind of draw my attention. I won't use this one again. 0-7 against the spread after they win. Also, when the Nets have a line that's over 230 points for the total, they're 7-0 against the spread. There's another intersecting opportunity for both 7. It's weird that they're both 7-0s, but it fits the mold tonight. You go back to November 23rd, the Nets are 3rd in offense, they're 3rd in defense, and their first net rating in the NBA. They're playing incredibly well as of late, and I want to take advantage. I don't know if they win the game outright, but you got a 12-9 Nets team, you got a 12-8 Kings team. Give me a spot with this Brooklyn Nets. Give me those points. I wouldn't be mad at anybody that wanted to try to go with the straight-up spot, but I just think it's a spot where we're going to get too many points for the Brooklyn Nets here. And I think they fuck around and find out. I think they fuck around and get this win. But last game I'm going to talk to you guys about, and then I got to do something about the boys, is I went all in to give the shout outs early to start the daily sesh today. And that was not a good move after a heavy night of consumption. So anyhow, we're going to talk about this Gonzaga game here, the Zags. And, I like this first half spot. I'll tell you exactly why. I'm not against laying the 41. I'll probably get there myself. I know it's a huge number, but you're never going to be more motivated than you are after coming off a loss to Washington. I mean, they lost outright. We were on Washington, right? So we were on the right side of that thing. But I just didn't think that's a good spot for them to be in this case here. The Zags, 82% of the bets, 82% of the cash on the Zags, and then somehow it's still moving points. As far as the total, though, we dropped it down a point. It opened at 142.5, but down to 141.5. 66% of the bets and 59% of the cash on the over, and it's moving down a point. But what I like most about this is when I looked at this game, this is pretty straightforward. The over has hit the last 10 games that Gonzaga's played at home. So they're a team that runs pace. They're averaging over 145 points in each of those games. So the fact that it's coming down works to our favor. They're also, like I said, they got to be pissed off that they lost to Washington. Here's the factor that jumped in this one for me. HBCU schools. They just played an well, they didn't just play them, but they played an HBCU school. And what happens is that a ton of points get laid out there. What happened? The margin for the victory is nominal. It's like 50-50. But the over has hit in 5 of the 7 times that a huge line team has played an HBCU school. Furthermore, when you look at that number and you break down that 5 of the 7 overs, the totals have been roughly hitting around 67. This game's 68. The average number that they're scoring in those 7 games that we had for the HBCU head-to-heads are 76.4 points, blowing over the number for the first half total by almost 10 points. Gonzaga's already played an HBCU school this season. They played Arkansas Pine Bluff. The final score in that game was 111-71, but at halftime, the score was 59-30. They literally whoop up on teams in this position. They should almost get that number on their own. We're going to take that 5-1 number on the hardwood in college basketball. We're going to drop it in on Gonzaga first half over 68. And that's going to do it for us here, guys. Yeah, I got to do some things with this voice. I got to rest and recuperate here. But I think we're going to have a great card tonight. I'll give you guys one last rundown here. We'll do a quick recap. We'll get you guys off to Jimmy the Bag. His show's about to pop off. We got the Toronto Maple Leafs in the NHL. We got Buffalo under 6.5. Detroit Red Wings, a plus 180 spot for the Detroit Red Wings. We grabbed Green Bay minus 5.5. And we teased Green Bay to the money line and plus 20 on Tennessee. Got the Orlando Magic at minus 125. The Denver Nuggets minus 2.5. Toronto Raptors under 221.5. The Memphis Grizzlies plus 1.5. OKC over 234.5. The Nets plus 4.5. And we wrap the card up with the Zags first half over 68. That's going to be the late night special. Shout out to everybody that came out here to see what we had rocking tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. You guys will see me at some point over there with Jimmy the Bag. I got a few things I got to tend to here, but shout out to everybody in the chat that came along here tonight for us. Brett Cook. Yeah, the pipes are blown. Nick Reinhardt, let's go. Tease, there's our guy Tease. Says Zags have UConn Friday. Yeah, I don't think they're going to look ahead. I think they're going to beat the shit out of them. But what? Mel says Mike needs to take it easy on the night stream. Yeah, I'm going to be pretty quiet. I thought I was pretty quiet last night, but it was early today that got me in trouble. Saturated. Don't think he's going to make it to the end with the voice intact. Robert Martin says, don't sleep with the AC on. Or, bro, it's 30 degrees out here right now. There's no AC. It's cold up here in upstate New York. Jared TG, appreciate you, my guy. Dan Kelly, Robert Martin, Mark Schellenberg, Saturated, Joey Harb. Let's go. Let's keep it rolling. Let's have a great night tonight. Joey Harb says, only one CBB, and you choose that? Sheesh. Hey, man. First half over, we're going to get in and out. I learned that from my boy Tease there. Let's get in and out of that game. Let's have a casher tonight. Fletcher, Barry. Let's have fun. Let's make money. Get your butts on over. Jump onto the Jimmy the Bag stream. And I'll see you guys later on tonight to get it done. Shout out to Tease out there on the 1s and 2s. My guy locking it down, holding it tight and right for us. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Same time, same place. Last call. Pub Sports Radio, 6 p.m. Eastern. We be pubbing, baby. Let's go.